Hi everyone, Jennifer Blevins-Smith with Integral Clinic Solutions, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Navigating the Business of Medicine. Today we're going to talk about preparing for back to school. Parents aren't the only ones that experience a hectic time of year when school is about to start. Medical clinics, depending on your specialty, can also really feel some stressful moments, and today we're going to talk about how to prepare best for them. Clinics, pediatricians, internal med, family medicine, general practice, maybe even urgent cares are going to see an influx in patient volume, requests for appointments, when back to school is just gonna start or right after. The reason for this are actually kind of obvious, but it's one of those things that tends to sneak up on us, to be honest with you. I was in family medicine for 10 years, and I'm going to tell you that after you get the back to school rush, then you start getting the sick kid rush because everybody's all back together and kids are bad at washing their hands and they're sharing their germs. And then you're going to start seeing the spikes in the streps and the illnesses. So being prepared now, because back to school is just around the corner, depending on actually what part of the country you're in, you might already be in back to school for kids. So I wanted to get this done. Here in Oregon, back to school starts in about a month. But I know a lot of parts of the country where they start sooner. Some things that will bring patients in for back to school are sports physicals. I know that's a big one, especially for fall sports and high schoolers. Annual checkups for school entries. Maybe parents have been putting that off and they're like, oh no, school's tomorrow and I didn't do this. So they're going to be kind of frantic on the phone trying to get an appointment, right? Any school required vaccines that kids are delinquent on and their parents need to update them. That's another thing they're going to be trying to squeeze their kids in so they don't miss school. Any kids that have a behavioral health or ADD, ADHD type medication that they need a checkup so that maybe they take a break on the medications during the summer and they realize, ooh, they need to go back on their meds before school starts and it kind of sneaked up on them again and they need that appointment to get that medication refilled. Any vision and hearing screenings. I don't know if this is as common as it used to be when I was a kid. I don't have children, so I don't know, but that's definitely something to think about. And then any other chronic conditions that kids might need a refill for medications like asthma or an EpiPen or something like that. Maybe their parents have realized that their prescription is expired and they need an appointment because it gives them peace of mind to know that the medication that's on file at the school for the child is good and not going to have any issues. One recommendation I could give is maybe on your web page, if you have one, creating like a back to school package link or something to provide a checklist or information for parents, especially if you have a high volume where special documents or forms need to be completed for kids, what your guidelines and policies are regarding that, any special pricing. Sports physicals often are not covered by insurances. It's an out-of-pocket cash price rate. You might want to advertise what it is on there and what's included. If you have forms that need to be filled out, if that's included in the visit or if it's additional. Maybe if patients don't actually need a visit because they were recently seen, however, they need a form completed, that there's a fee for that. That's cash price, putting that out there. It's good to communicate and put resources out there, especially this day and age. People are really good at checking websites for many businesses, including their doctor's offices. If you've experienced rushes before when it comes to back to school, like maybe last year and the year before, and you know it's a trend, hopefully you've already talked about this, but you could set extra time slots for same day or walk-in appointments if you know that's going to be a thing, even if it's only for 2 or 3 weeks, like maybe 1 or 2 weeks before school starts and a week after school starts or something like that. You can use EHR tags or appointment types like back to school visit and train your staff exactly when to use that and why. So it helps communicate to the whole office when patients are being seen for this specific need. The other thing that makes it helpful if you use this specific visit type or whatever you coordinate as that is you could run a report afterwards just to see what the volume was for it in case you want to plan better for it next year and learn from it. You could temporarily extend your hours into the later evenings after kids are out of school and parents are off work, just to make it easier for your staff to be able to find time to schedule these patients and for less crazy parents. I don't want to sound mean, but sometimes those parents are frantic for their lack of planning and they try to turn it into your staff's problem and they can be kind of mean. So if you have anticipated that and you want to reduce your staff from being verbally abused, for lack of a better word, perhaps opening some of those opportunities for scheduling would be a good idea. And then you could always utilize, if you have it, any kind of online scheduling where patients can schedule themselves and dedicate them to specific back to school type visit reasons, or you could send out a blast reminder or campaign to schedule your kids back to school visit now or something like that. Don't forget you can schedule online or check out our webpage for more information or something like that, just to be proactive. Again, if you already have back to school starting, I'm sorry I'm doing this video a little late. However, my mindset is we don't start till after Labor Day. And so I thought this would be a good time for us out here who start at that time. I was a big fan of communication with my staff. And if I knew something was coming up that was going to be a little more hectic, a little more stressful, I would do morning huddles with my staff. I would also do a meeting ahead of time to discuss what's anticipated, how to handle it, remind them of their resources, any changes that we were going to make to accommodate it, like flu season and flu shot clinics and things like that. This is another perfect opportunity back to school. If you want to remind them to use certain visit types, if you want to remind them that, certain services are self-pay, what to communicate to parents if they need a form and how long it's going to take to be completed, so that everybody's on the same page, everybody's giving the same information, and it's consistent across the staff no matter who your patients talk to. It's always important. It lessens the confusion, it lessens miscommunication, and patients just feel like they're being well taken care of. One option, if you're really busy, like a pediatrician or family medicine office, you could possibly offer some hours on weekends before school starts if needed, or maybe just go with the extra evening long hours because of course you have to find staff that would be willing to work those weekends. But that's another idea just to keep in mind if you need to. Communication is key, and your back office might need some discussion as well in regard to what vaccines are required when, if you ordered special vaccines for back to school, maybe vaccines you don't usually carry, but you do for back to school, how you want vitals taken, when you want vitals taken, if you need additional intake information recorded by your clinic staff. That all should be communicated ahead of time as well. So when you do that meeting to talk about scheduling and communication to patients, you also want to make sure you're including your back office staff as well. In preparation, you want to make sure that you have everything on hand that you would need, whether it's, generic forms that would need to be completed by providers for kids to take to school. If it's additional vaccines, you need to order a larger volume. If you need PPE for some reason, if you need vision and hearing kits, making sure all of your rooms are stocked, being prepared, being proactive, not reactive, as an office manager, as an owner, is going to be very beneficial, especially in the craziness of back to school. Help providers also with the extra administration burden that they're probably going to experience with all the forms that need to be completed by having templates in your EMR for these special visits, making sure that your clinic staff can maybe fill out some of the parts of the form that are needed. Like I know as a medical assistant, I would fill out the vitals, I would fill out the medications, I would fill out as much as I could that didn't require the doctor to do it. And then I just left what was specifically for the doctor to complete. It made it easier on him. It was faster, and I know he appreciated it. Plus, he trusted me to do that because I had a little bit more time than him, and it just reduced the burden on him. He was able to complete his progress notes faster, which was important, and everyone just kind of worked well together with that game plan. So we adopted it across all medical assistants for all providers in the office. I used to also ask people to drop off forms ahead of time, especially if it needed some very specific information. It wasn't just like a basic sports physical form. I would ask them if they could email it to me because it didn't have any PHI on it, right? Or PII. Back then, actually, it was a fax, to be honest. I'm dating myself. But they would fax it to us, or they would drop it off if we were on their way to and from work or something. And then I could look it over, see, and make sure that we had everything. I didn't have any additional questions. The doctor didn't have any additional questions or needs before the patient was seen. And if they didn't actually need an appointment because they were recently seen and the parent was like, look, do I really need to bring them in? We could review it and say, you know what? No, it's not that big of a deal. Just when you come to pick up the form, let's get their height and weight because they're at an age where it changes often, or we didn't get it the last time or something like that. We'd say, just pop in, do a nurse visit. We won't even charge you because we're charging you for the form, and we'll just get that data really quick and put it down. And usually parents were very accommodating and very appreciative of that. Again, it's always helpful to remind your patients that it's back to school as well, because they might be in full summer mode right now, coming off of vacation, trying to prepare other things for the school year, and this whole medical part might have just totally escaped them. So use your technology at your fingertips. If you have patient portals, send out messages. If you can do blast campaigns, text messages, put it on social media. If you have a social media page and you know patients follow you, remind them of back to school. If you can help them prepare and be proactive, it helps you prepare and be proactive. So help them help you by bringing this to their attention and hopefully helping them plan a little bit better than waiting till the last minute. For your billing team, I would recommend reviewing proper ICD codes are going to be billed out, CPT codes. Again, anything that would be a self-pay service, such as sports physicals, how much it would be, telling patients they're expected to pay at the time of service, the form fees if you have one. If you do VFC, which is vaccines for children, making sure that you have everything you need for that and which patients would be eligible for that, reviewing it with your back office staff and your billing staff. Verify benefits ahead of time for your patients, of course. We talk about that all the time, and I'm going to have another video about that as well. But the better prepared internally communicating everything, the more smooth it's going to go all the way around. So if you communicate things effectively to patients and they know the expectations and the costs associated, etc., and your staff knows how to schedule and how to communicate all of this to the patients, and your providers know and your back office staff know how to handle all this, things are going to go really well and it won't be as stressful as it could be. If you have any questions or comments about this, please leave that in the comments below. The point of this video is don't be caught off guard, be prepared, anticipate a higher volume, again, depending on your specialty, and make sure that all of your staff are well prepared and it runs as smoothly as possible. If today's video was helpful, I would appreciate if you would smash the thumbs up button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and please share this with your colleagues if you haven't already. Enjoy your day, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.